Hey folks, thanks for tuning in. So today I have a special guest to join us for the podcast. I'm really glad that you can tune in. I think you're going to really like this. So today I'm chilling, as you can see.
We are chilling.
With my good friend, my mentor, Dr. Perry Nickelston. Thank you so much for joining me.
Hi everyone. Thanks for having me back on. It's hard to believe it's been a year?
It's been like a year and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
It goes fast. Yeah.
Yep, the last one was Primal Movement Change, kind of like an intro to the Primal Movement Change.
Yeah, when it first started out, it was a one-day course, quickly became a 2-day course, and I realized there was so much content.
It is such an awesome course. If you haven't checked it out, you must go to stopchasingpain.com to get registered for one in your area. So today we're coming at you from Project Move here in Littleton, Colorado, right outside of Denver. As you can see, there's been a lot of rock tape going on today. It's been an awesome day as Dr. Perry was teaching us today. And I'm really looking forward to tomorrow too. So one thing I thought was really cool is the day was overwhelmingly my brain is exploding. But speaking of brain, you talked a lot about the brain today.
Gotta love brains, man.
Yeah, so I was...
Like not in a creepy way, not like a Hannibal Lecter kind of way.
Exactly, right. So I thought what I'd just do, just turn it over to you and you
that could be scary.
Share some of your knowledge with us, because there's so much going on with brain and the correlation with brain and movement and brain and how they feed back and forth and so many different things.
Sure, well, I mean, man, I know we're going to speak for about 15 minutes, but I mean, what can be more exciting than talking about the brain? You know, I need to get out a little more, but it's just fascinated me especially with neuroscience and really just how many changes have made in the last 5 years of what we've learned about the brain. I mean, there used to be a time, in all honesty, when the medical community did not think you could actually change the brain. Like what you've got, you've got, and then it's just going to deteriorate, and then you're sort of screwed, right? I mean, if you think about that, that's like archaic. That's like operating without washing your freaking hands, which at some point they used to do. Yeah. They used to do an autopsy, then they used to go deliver a baby, and then they were trying to see, why is everybody dying? Maybe because you got to wash your hands. But here's the thing: when this guy came up with that, I forget his name. I think it was Semmelweis or something. I think there's these things called germs, and they be making people sick and dying because you're going from autopsies into here. I'll give you one guess of what that reaction was like when he said that. Sort of what we get today. You're out of your mind. It's just stupid. It doesn't make any sense. There's no such thing. And then all of a sudden you get vilified. Then all of a sudden later it's like, sort of, maybe we should wash our hands, right? And that's the same thing that happened with the brain. And now they see that you can actually make huge changes to your brain by changing how you move, in particular, to form what they call brain maps. It's like a maps in a GPS, how you're choosing to get from point A to point B. Right. And you can actually reroute it.
It's like new firing patterns, right?
Yeah.
And neuroplasticity allows for...
Yeah, so they see that a lot with stroke victims, where they're not able to accomplish a task, for instance, and then they work with them to teach the brain, and all of a sudden the brain says, okay, I can't go to the right for this map, so it says, maybe I'll go to the left. Or it finds a new, because that's what's so wonderful about the body. The body is designed to adapt and compensate and overcome and survive, right? And it's actually a miracle of what it can do. So its job is to keep thriving and just not be dead. And it finds miraculous ways to do that. And then now with the advent of what they call functional MRIs, where you can actually put somebody in real time and see what the brain does as they're going through a pattern or anything like that, and then you can see the new maps that happens. That's really cool. We showed you one today about how if you tape around the knee, the patella, how the brain shows a different map to move around the knee and with your position of sense and time. And I'm a geek like crazy, so I read a lot about neuroscience and the brain, and this is a really cool study where they wanted to see what maps the brain took when a couple was having sex in an MRI. So already I like the study.
Interesting.
And what they did was they actually went right through the foreplay into climax as the MRI was filming. So you could see what happens in the woman's brain, what happens in the guy's brain. And it was really interesting to see the changes that happened or the areas that were stimulated via when somebody had an orgasm or arousal. I mean, tell me that's not the coolest thing in the world that you can actually physically see. And they're using that knowledge now to begin to help people who've had strokes, and also with some of the research on people that you work with the Parkinson's, right?
Yeah, we're working on retraining the brain. We're working on new firing patterns, specifically in the cerebellum. But I mean, that's what we believe is the area that picks up slack for the substantia nigra, which is dying. But it's really interesting how we're able to improve, grow, change the brain actually, improve movement.
And that's where my course came about. Primal Movement Change was created really because as a chiropractor for 20 years and being in the profession of trying to help people, not just get out of pain, but take back control of their lives, feel empowered. And when you know you can do that with your brain, that's pretty strong motivation. And then I found ways through movement and neuroscience to help people begin to get these new patterns. And they get, I don't even like to call them new patterns because they're old patterns that you used to have, but you forgot the map. And you started moving all these different ways because now you're doing, when we put this together, because it was just kind of funny and a joke, we're sitting here, but most people sit, right? And then you don't usually go to the ground unless you physically fall there, right? Or you're throwing up, right? You had a rough night out. But we get you to the ground because that's where you started to move in the first place. So my contention is that if I get you back to the ground where you learned to move in the first place and revisit that and get you back to being in that flow state, it feeds forward into everything you want to do on 2 feet, if that makes sense. So I jokingly say that if you don't want to end up under the ground, why don't you spend more time playing on top of it?
That's a good point. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, interesting today. So as I sit here, I noticed I can look this way better.
Yeah,
I
right.
remember earlier today I could get to about here, but
You had
now
some
I
cool
can go
stuff
over
happening
here.
to you today, bro.
I
Right?
did, yeah. Thank you. Appreciate
welcome.
that very much.
Yeah. Shit actually works.
All this sensory input, immediate changes.
That's the key.
Immediate changes.
It's immediate changes.
And then you took the tape off that one time, back here, and
Yeah,
it's
you're like, don't take
no,
the tape off, don't take the
don't
tape
do
off.
that. And immediate changes.
But isn't it what's
Back.
weird is it how your brain felt it immediately when you took it off.
You weren't even done taking it off yet.
Right.
My
What
brain
you
didn't
have,
work.
you felt into what a word I talk about all the time, which is vulnerability. So people are very vulnerable in this world in many different ways right now, right? But if you feel vulnerable, you don't feel safe, then your body and your brain are not gonna allow you to move optimally. How do you feel when you're vulnerable? You pull in.
And yeah,
You go into this safety position. You implode this way. And we need people today to get into a state of explosion. You open up, right?
You feel better.
Yeah, I mean, you get into that explosion state with the tape.
Yeah, it's really powerful. It's like owning my movement today. It's like I was able to take ownership over certain movements that I was not owning them prior to
You can
that.
feel it, right? And
Yeah.
the idea is that you get some feel of a movement, because what happens is that through time, we just stop being in the moment. I mean, right now, I love it that people are moving more because of this Pokemon stuff, but they're not really in a moment of reality either. So it's awesome that you're getting people to move like they've never moved before, but I think you're going to see a lot of other negative things come from it, right? Like, I'm with you, but you're not with me, sort of thing.
Right, in the moment, present.
Yeah, I mean, you need to be in and feel what they call PTC, present time consciousness. And we talk about intention of movement. It's hard for people to shut down and be with silence because first of all, you got to be at peace with yourself and you start thinking a little bit, and that could be scary. But people need this background noise, right? I need the TV on, or I got to have a game on, I got to have something in my ear. But if you lay down on the ground and you put tape on you and you're just quiet, almost think about it as like a meditation, but with meditation with movement. You can come to some really powerful, life-changing moments of how you move, but also maybe coming to empowering yourself and some decisions you might have to make in your life,
Sure.
that you might be putting off, right? So it's really powerful when you can just get down on the ground. And I usually tell people jokingly, is that, not even jokingly, is go outside, be a kid again, lay down on the grass, right? I mean, and just feel the earth beneath you. You'll have some crazy shit happen. Right? And then people will look at you like, what is he, nuts? And you're like, perfect, that's already a win.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're just doing different stuff.
Well, today was so interesting, just the whole idea that when we move better, we feel better, not just physically, but mentally, even emotionally. You know, when you feel better emotionally and mentally, you move differently, posture's different.
They feed on each other.
It is just so powerful.
I mean, we're innately designed to be observant of movement. You know, I jokingly say that movement's not rocket surgery. It's really not. And some people get offended at that because they're like, oh, I spent all these hours studying movement. And well, that's not my fault. I mean, like, you know, we're designed to notice things for survival. I mean, when you're out on your own and nobody's around, I mean, are you really heightened at the senses? You're designed to notice things that stand out because you got to see that stuff, or you'll kind of be dead, right? It's a tiger that's going to jump out and get you, or the guy that's going to mug you. And you can see when you look at somebody, you're very good at reading whether they're pissed off, or whether they're upset, or whether somebody is threatening. You've got it. You just got to trust in yourself to do it. So one of my biggest pet peeves about movement is that people overanalyze the shit out of it. Like, it's not that complicated. There's no such thing as perfect movement, which is a big contention of mine, because people are already feeling stressed to try to fit into what we call perfect. So the last thing I want to do is say you're doing that movement wrong, because you're doing it the way you have to do it in order to function. So to me, it's actually unbelievable that you're doing it. I'm just going to try to show you maybe a more efficient way to do it. But Moshe Feldenkrais, who I really studied a lot of, he said that line. There's no such thing as perfect movement. However, there's always better movement. And how you choose to talk to someone and relate to them can make a big difference on how they're going to move. One of the best tips I ever got was from Thomas Myers, and we talked about him a lot today with anatomy training. He said, if you're looking at somebody and you're going to start to do their assessment, he said, I do not want you to go into anything that you're trying to correct or anything that's negative until you can start off and give that person 3 things that are good.
I like that.
Start with 3 things that, oh, this is good here, this is great here, and then you can go into the other ones. First of all, they'll probably be freaking totally surprised that you did it. And then they'll actually start to build them up before you go attack the negative.
Sure, that's really good. I like that. It's a great approach.
I have my moments. But I learned from, I mean, I always give credit to people that I've learned from or have inspired me. And the goal of teaching and trying to make a difference in the world is taking things that you learn from, but add yourself to it. Be curious. Curiosity is one of the biggest ways you can make a difference in the world. It's also not going down to what we talked about today, the same old shit path. You know, you got to be curious if you're going to go down the crazy new shit path. That's what we do. And that's, to me, is what Steve Jobs said. He had one small goal. He wanted to make a ding in the universe. That's a pretty big goal, but I think he did that. And that's what I'm trying to do through my program in some little small way, if that makes sense.
Well, in my opinion, you've made a big ding in it. Yeah, because, you know, I did primal movement chains when it was a 1 day, so I'd actually like to revisit that for a 2
Yeah, you're always welcome, man. I'd love to have anybody come to that.
And, you know, you're out there, you're on social media. I'll have links and all that on the screen. But you got to check out all this stuff. Instagram, Facebook, website, stopchasingpain.com, because you're putting so much good stuff out there too.
Well, thank you.
Great postings.
Yeah, well, it's something that I love to do. People say, Doc, why do you push yourself so hard? And I'm like, that's the wrong word. I'm not pushing anything. I look at it because it's a passion of mine. I'm being pulled to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So I feel like I've got to do it.
Well, every time you're putting out quality information, so if people just look at it, read it, you can get something out of it most likely.
I think so. I hope so. I mean, I try to do it in a unique way. I'm kind of be like in your face sometimes, and I'm gonna curse, and they're like, "You're a doctor, you can't curse." I'm like, "Yes, I can. Do whatever I want to do." But I'm trying to reach another human being, right? You don't have. The big thing I talk about is that you don't have to teach a serious subject matter and be serious when you teach it. I think that's one of the biggest issues that we have is in the pain world. We always say it's so serious, and you got to be like professional. When you're dealing with somebody in pain, I've been there. I mean, I almost died from my cancer and from surgeries that I've had. So I know how precious life is. But when you're working with people in pain, I can guarantee you they probably want to have a laugh or a smile above anything else. And if I can say something kind of a different way and they're like, what did he just say? And I'm like going to get you to think differently, or what Anthony Robbins says, change your state, change your emotional state. I think that's a big part of it, right? So he teaches stuff like how to change your state is just like do something powerful, like in an instant. In an instant, you change your state. Because you're changing your sensory input, you're changing how you move. Right. So you change your state. And so I'm trying to do that up there and deliver it in a way that you might not agree with what I say, and that's okay, because if I try to go out there and get everybody to like me, that's the first mistake, right? Because you've got to be unique. And I go like this. I don't try to go after everybody. I want to go after the weird. What I mean by the weird is the people that look at things differently, or kind of have a different, when I go, they're curious. And the way that you know somebody is curious is that when they do something, they do this one movement. It's what I do. I just go like this. And I'm like, there's got to be a way that this can be a little different. I know the research says that, but that's how you change the world. You tilt your head sideways and you be curious. So there's 4 things that I didn't teach today, but I'm going to teach it tomorrow. And I always teach these 4 things. If you want to make a difference in the world and you want to embrace who you are and not be put into some specific mold of what you're supposed to be. Right? First one is you got to be curious. You got to look at things a little bit different and not be scared to do that. 2, you got to be what's sorely missing in this world today, and that's straight up kindness. Kind to yourself, first of all. Even kind to the people that are not kind, right? Some of the biggest people in the world that people remember are the ones that were like that. Martin Luther King, Gandhi, right? And if you're going to be on social media, boy, you have to embrace that one quick, because people are going to attack you and break you down. You got to stay kind. Right? Number 3, you got to have stamina. Stamina means self-discipline and not giving up. Because I said today, the universe has one job, and its job is to kick your ass. And it wants to see, do you have what it takes to keep getting up? Right? Because that's what that hardship is about. Right? So having that failure and getting your ass kicked, that's some of the most biggest life transformations that you're going to have. So don't quit. Those 3, but the most important one is the last one. And it's the one that's hardest for most people to do, because in order to do it, you've got to make yourself vulnerable. And nobody likes to be that way. And it's the one, I put this up and I read it every day. And it's this. You have to have a willingness to look stupid. What I mean by that is that look silly. Like somebody's like, you're just so stupid. What are you talking about, right? The person that can have that willingness strips everything out, and you've got to lay yourself out there and say, this is what I believe, this is what I stand for, this is what I'm trying to do. Because trust me, when Steve Jobs went out there, I want to put 1,000 songs in your pocket. You're just effing stupid, right? Or, hey, you know what, I got an idea, I think we could actually fly. You're stupid, right? Or I want to make a car. You're stupid. So all these things, you're going to get that. But that's what gives me the power to stand up in front of people and say, listen, I'm laying myself out there and I don't care if I look stupid. but that's okay. So if you could just, I mean, that's the biggest piece of advice. That
Yeah.
4 things, but that one. And I guarantee you most people won't do it because it's effing hard.
Yeah. You know, those are 4 great pieces of advice.
They've done well for me. I mean, I've read
Huge
self-help books for 30 years because
yeah.
there was a point in time when I hated myself. I was fat, overweight, obese. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't like who I was. And I was an introvert. And last thing I wanted to do was rock the boat. And I tell that to people now, and they're like, I cannot believe that was how you are because you're so out there and stuff like that. I'm like, that's because it took a lot of time for me to get to that point and realize what we talked about today is that people have a lot of wonderful things to share if you can just get to that point. And it's hard to do that. It took me 20 years to get to that point. Or what we talked about today is you just got to get out of your own way. That's what that means.
Well, it's interesting because I've been in that similar place. It just took me a long time to get to a point where I realized I was worthy of being somebody, something in the world, making some kind of difference. Because I didn't like the way I looked, how I felt about myself. Self-help books, all that kind of stuff. But it's people like you who teach us so much great stuff, which I appreciate, and inspire us. I know you always inspire me greatly, so I appreciate that and our friendship and your mentorship. It's been awesome.
It has been.
It's
been
been really
reciprocate
awesome.
Because I know the struggle that you've been through, and when you're sharing your story, which that takes a lot of strength to put it out there, to put how you used to look up for everybody to see with your picture pre and post. But now what you've taken is, and why I'm really proud of you, is that you've come full circle. So now you're actually out there trying to make an impact or share that. Because you can say one thing in your unique way that can change another person's life. Right? Because it may be something they've heard before, but what's unique about the way the information is delivered is you're delivering it. So you make it unique. So that's why I have a really big pet peeve when somebody says, I already know this stuff. First of all, that's the ultimate in arrogance of that I don't need to know it anymore, because you can always learn something new because a different person is teaching it. And hopefully you are a different person when you hear it again.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Totally, yeah.
So props up to you, man.
Well, thank you very, very much. People like you really helped me a
We
lot.
have a big giant love fest now, aren't we?
This is awesome, and we're chilling in our lounge chairs here. We're in the beach chair.
That's right. This thing goes back. Now.
It does. One almost slipped over a while ago.
We'll stay here overnight and just teach tomorrow.
So, well, listen, thank you, man.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Hopefully everybody enjoyed a little bit of a peek inside my brain. It gets kind of scary in there, but
It's awesome. It's awesome. Today was fantastic. Can't wait for tomorrow. So, once again, Dr. Perry Nickelston,
thank you, brother.
StopChasingPain.com, and you'll see on your site are links to all the social media, right?
Oh yeah,
you got all the stuff
like
there.
a virus, man.
So
You just hit one, you're over.
Yeah, just go to StopChasingPain.com and then hit everything up there. Check out the workshops. Check out the membership.
Yeah, it'd be great. Love to have you there. We have workshops all over the world scheduled out already for 2017. My book launch is coming out, so you can get my book as well, Stop Chasing Pain,
Go to
on Amazon. And then also I have a membership site that we call GoPro. That's where you get a behind the scenes look of what we call it, I jokingly say, you get to see how the sausage is made. Which means you get to see what goes in everything. And then I teach you a lot of things that I might not even show you at a workshop.
That's cool. Awesome. All right, so be sure to check all that out. My friends, thank you for tuning in. Thank you again for joining me,
Thank you,
okay?
man. You bet.
And we'll do this again sometime.
Absolutely.
Sooner than
Let's make
later.
it faster than another year and a half.
I know, it's a year and a half went by so fast. All right, thanks again, friends.